Hey guys, have you ever stopped to think that even while you're sleeping, your blood sugar might be creeping up without you knowing it? You go to bed feeling fine, and then you wake up the next morning feeling tired, groggy, sluggish, like you barely slept at all. And maybe your doctor has already told you your numbers are too high. Maybe you're already on metformin, or maybe you're getting close to that conversation and you really don't want to have it. I'm Dr. Isabella Norris, and I've been practicing medicine for over 15 years. In that time, I've sat across from thousands of men, good, hard-working guys who did everything they were supposed to do, and watched them get more and more frustrated with a system that just keeps adding pills to the pile. And I get it, I really do. But here's what I want to talk to you about today, because this is something I don't think gets nearly enough attention in conventional medicine. There's a set of natural remedies, things your grandfather probably had in his kitchen cabinet, that have real, documented effects on blood sugar regulation, specifically when you take them before bed. And for men over 50, 60, 70, this timing matters more than most people realize. So stick with me here, because by the end of this, you're going to know exactly what to drink, when to drink it, how much, and this is the part most videos skip. Who should be careful or avoid certain ones altogether? Because I'm not here to just throw a list at you. I'm here to actually help you use this stuff safely and effectively. Let's start with why nighttime matters so much. When you're a younger man, your body does a pretty good job of regulating blood sugar overnight. Your pancreas is responsive, your cells are sensitive to insulin, and by the time you wake up, everything's more or less in balance. But as men get older, and this is especially true after 55, that overnight regulation starts to break down. Your liver starts releasing more glucose than it should while you sleep. Your cells become more insulin resistant. And a lot of guys wake up with fasting blood sugar numbers that are higher than what they went to bed with. That's not a lifestyle failure. That's biology. But it is something we can work with. That's where these teas come in. Not as a miracle cure, I want to be straight with you about that, but as a consistent nightly ritual that supports your body's ability to manage glucose while you sleep. Think of it like giving your body a little extra backup before the overnight shift. The first one I want to talk about is bay leaf tea. Now I know, bay leaf. You probably think of that as something you throw in a pot of chili and forget about. But bay leaves have been used medicinally for centuries, and there's actually some solid science behind why they work for blood sugar. Bay leaves contain compounds including polyphenols and flavonoids that help improve insulin sensitivity. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition found that consuming bay leaf powder daily for 30 days significantly reduced fasting blood glucose in people with type 2 diabetes. We're talking real numbers here, not just might help. Here's how you make it. Take 2 or 3 dried bay leaves, the kind you've already got in your spice rack, and add them to about 2 cups of water. Bring it to a boil, then let it simmer for about 10 minutes. Strain it, let it cool down a bit, and drink it about 30 to 45 minutes before you go to bed. That's it. Simple as that. Now here's the important part I need to address, because I know a lot of you are managing more than one condition at the same time. If you're on blood thinners, warfarin, Xarelto, Eliquis, anything like that, you need to talk to your doctor before you start drinking bay leaf tea regularly. Bay leaves have natural anticoagulant properties, which means they can amplify the effect of your blood thinner medication. That's not necessarily dangerous if you're monitored, but it's not something to just wing on your own. Same thing if you're on diabetes medication that already lowers your blood sugar aggressively. You don't want to stack too many things without knowing how they interact. Check with your doc. That's just good sense. For everyone else, healthy heart guys, guys managing blood sugar through diet and exercise, guys in the early stages of prediabetes, bay leaf tea before bed is one of the gentlest and most effective things you can add to your nighttime routine. Now let's talk about hibiscus. If you've ever had a cold hibiscus tea, sometimes called agua de Jamaica, you already know it tastes incredible. Tart, refreshing, kind of like a natural cranberry. But the reason I'm bringing it up tonight isn't the flavor, it's the research. A study published in the journal Phytomedicine demonstrated that regular consumption of hibiscus flowers can significantly reduce glucose levels in people with type 2 diabetes, and critically, without causing serious side effects. For men who are wary of medications with long lists of warnings, that matters. Hibiscus works partly through its anthocyanins, those deep red pigments that give it the color, which have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties that support better insulin function. Here's how to make it. Add 1 tablespoon of dried hibiscus flowers to a cup of water. Bring it to a boil and let it steep for about 5 minutes. Strain it and drink it warm before bed. You can drink it cold too. Some of you guys are going to prefer that, especially in summer. And yes, it's still effective cold. Don't let anyone tell you it has to be hot to work. The active compounds don't break down just because the temperature dropped. One thing worth knowing about hibiscus, it has a mild blood pressure lowering effect. For most men, especially those dealing with both high blood sugar and high blood pressure, that's actually a double benefit. But if your blood pressure already runs on the low side, or if you're on medication that already manages it tightly, be aware of that. You don't want your pressure dropping too much overnight. Next up, and this is probably the most well-known one on the list, cinnamon and clove tea. Now, when most people think of cinnamon, they think of oatmeal or apple pie. But cinnamon, specifically Ceylon cinnamon, the real stuff, not the cheap cassia kind, is one of the most studied natural compounds for blood sugar management. It contains a bioactive compound called cinnamaldehyde that improves the way your cells respond to insulin. It essentially helps the door open more easily so glucose can get inside your cells instead of floating around in your bloodstream. Clove adds its own benefit here. Cloves are rich in eugenol, which has been shown to have anti-diabetic properties and also helps with inflammation, which, by the way, is one of the major drivers of insulin resistance in older men. When you put these two together, you've got a combination that's been used in traditional medicine from Asia to Latin America to the American South for generations. My grandmother, who was from Georgia, kept a jar of cinnamon sticks on the counter at all times. She didn't know the biochemistry. She just knew it worked. To make this one, take 1 cinnamon stick, Ceylon if you can find it. Most Whole Foods and health food stores carry it, and 2 or 3 whole cloves. Add them to 2 cups of water, bring to a boil, and simmer for about 8 to 10 minutes. Strain it and drink it warm before bed. Some guys add a small slice of fresh ginger to this one, and it works beautifully together, which I'll get to in a second. Now, I need to flag something for a couple of specific groups here. If you have thyroid issues, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, or you're on thyroid medication, high doses of cinnamon may interfere with thyroid function. A cup of tea is a moderate amount and is generally considered safe. But if you have a thyroid condition, let your doctor know you're adding this to your routine. Same goes if you have any liver condition, because very large amounts of cassia cinnamon contain coumarin, which can be hard on the liver. Ceylon cinnamon has much lower coumarin levels, another reason to seek out the good stuff. For the vast majority of you, this tea is safe, delicious, and genuinely effective. Let's talk about ginger now, because ginger deserves its own moment. Ginger contains an active compound called gingerol, which is also what gives it that spicy kick. And gingerol has been shown to improve insulin response and help your cells absorb blood sugar more efficiently. There's also a significant anti-inflammatory effect, and I want to explain why that matters specifically for men. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the most underappreciated drivers of type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance in men over 50. And inflammation doesn't just come from diet, it comes from years of stress, from not sleeping well, from the wear and tear of a life fully lived. Ginger attacks that inflammation directly. And unlike some anti-inflammatory medications, it doesn't tear up your stomach lining. For men who've also been dealing with digestive issues, and a lot of guys with diabetes also deal with slow gastric emptying or bloating, ginger is doing double duty. It soothes the gut and manages blood sugar at the same time. Make ginger tea by peeling and slicing about 1 inch of fresh ginger root. Add it to 2 cups of water, bring it to a boil, simmer for 10 minutes, strain and drink before bed. If fresh ginger isn't convenient, half a teaspoon of ground ginger works too. You can also combine this with cinnamon and clove, as I mentioned. That trio together is genuinely powerful and tastes like something you'd pay $6 for at a coffee shop. Now here's one that might surprise you. Guava Leaf Tea. Guava is all over the place in the American South and Southwest. And if you grew up in Florida, Texas, California, or anywhere with a strong Latin or Caribbean community, you probably already know guava fruit. But the leaves are where the magic is for blood sugar. Guava leaves contain compounds that inhibit certain enzymes responsible for converting carbohydrates into glucose in your digestive system. What that means practically is that when you drink guava leaf tea, you're essentially slowing down the rate at which your last meal converts to blood sugar, which is a big deal for overnight glucose regulation. Several studies in Japan and Brazil have shown measurable reductions in post-meal and fasting blood sugar with consistent guava leaf tea use. To make it, take about 5 to 6 dried guava leaves and boil them in 2 cups of water for 10 minutes. Strain and drink before bed. You can find dried guava leaves at most Latin grocery stores, Asian markets, or online. They're inexpensive and they store well. Now I want to address something directly, because I've heard this question a lot over the years, and I know some of you are thinking it right now. Can I combine these teas? Like, can I throw bay leaf, hibiscus, and ginger all into one pot? The honest answer is, some combinations work well, some are fine but unnecessary, and a few need a little thought. Bay leaf, hibiscus, and ginger together is a solid combination. No conflict, complementary effects. Cinnamon, clove, and ginger together is excellent. This is actually a traditional blend. What I'd caution against is trying to drink all 5 of these every single night simultaneously, not because they're dangerous, but because you won't be able to tell what's working for your body. Start with 1 or 2, be consistent for 2 to 4 weeks, and then adjust from there. Your body will tell you what it likes. Also, and this one I hear from the guys who are really committed, you don't have to choose between hot and cold. The active compounds in all of these are heat stable enough that they survive cooling. If you're in the middle of a Texas summer and the last thing you want is a hot drink at 10 p.m., brew it in the evening, stick it in the fridge, and drink it cold. It's still working. Now, I want to talk about something that came up a lot in conversations I've had with patients, and I want to be honest with you about it. Some of you guys are dealing with insomnia on top of blood sugar issues. And here's what a lot of people don't realize. Those 2 things feed each other. Poor sleep directly worsens insulin resistance. When you don't get deep sleep, your cortisol stays elevated, and elevated cortisol tells your liver to dump more glucose into your bloodstream. So if you've been frustrated that you're doing everything right, eating well, walking, taking your meds, and your morning numbers are still high, chronic sleep disruption may be a major piece of the puzzle that nobody's addressed. Several of the teas I've mentioned tonight also have mild sedative or calming properties. Hibiscus and chamomile, which pairs well with any of these, both support better sleep. Ginger settles the gut, which for a lot of men means less discomfort that wakes them up at 3 a.m. If you're battling both insomnia and blood sugar issues, the nighttime tea ritual isn't just about glucose. It's also about building a consistent wind-down routine that signals to your nervous system that it's time to rest. That said, if your insomnia is severe and has been going on for years, please, I'm asking you directly, talk to a doctor about it. Not just the blood sugar piece, the sleep piece. Because no amount of herbal tea fully compensates for years of fragmented sleep. And there are real solutions for that beyond just home remedies. I also want to address the elephant in the room that I know is lurking for some of you. Some of you have already stopped taking your diabetes medications, maybe because of side effects, maybe because the costs have gotten out of control, maybe because you just don't want to be on them anymore. I understand that frustration. I've seen patients in real financial distress over prescription costs, and I've seen side effects that made quality of life genuinely worse. But I want to be straight with you, because that's what I do. Stopping medication abruptly, especially if your numbers were already elevated, carries real risk. What these teas do is they support your body. They're an ally, not a replacement. The goal is to work with your doctor to potentially reduce medication over time as your numbers improve, not to just drop everything cold and hope for the best. If you don't have a doctor you trust who will actually listen to you about wanting a more natural approach, find one. They exist. You deserve that conversation. Okay, let me pull this all together for you because I know you're guys who want the practical bottom line. Bay leaf tea, 2 or 3 leaves, boil 10 minutes, drink 30 to 45 minutes before bed. Avoid if you're on blood thinners without medical guidance. Hibiscus tea, 1 tablespoon dried flowers, steep 5 minutes, drink warm or cold. Be aware of the mild blood pressure lowering effect. Cinnamon and clove tea, 1 Ceylon cinnamon stick, 2 to 3 cloves, simmer 8 to 10 minutes. Use Ceylon, not cassia. Check with your doctor if you have thyroid or liver conditions. Ginger tea, 1 inch fresh ginger root or half a teaspoon ground, simmer 10 minutes. Excellent for blood sugar and digestion. Can combine with cinnamon and clove. Guava Leaf Tea. 5 to 6 dried leaves, boil 10 minutes. Especially useful for controlling post-meal glucose overnight. Start with one. Be consistent, every night for at least 2 weeks. Check your fasting blood sugar in the morning and keep a simple log. Your phone's notes app works fine for this. After 2 weeks, you'll have real data on what's working for your specific body, not just what worked for somebody else. And look, I know some of you have been managing this for years. You've tried things, you've had wins, you've had setbacks. What I'd ask you to do is treat this like a serious commitment, not just something you try for 3 days and quit. The guys who see real results with natural approaches are almost always the guys who are consistent about it. Every night, not most nights. I've been doing this work for over 15 years, and one thing I know for certain, the men who take ownership of their health, who show up every day with discipline, even in small ways like making a cup of tea before bed, those are the guys who end up with better outcomes. Not just in their blood work, but in how they feel, how they sleep, how much energy they bring to the morning. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent with something that actually works. So tell me, are you going to try one of these tonight? Which one are you starting with? Drop it in the comments because I read them and I genuinely want to know how this is going for you. If you've already been using any of these and you've got results to share, put that down there too. The guys watching this later need to hear from real people, not just from me. And if you've got questions about your specific situation, blood pressure, thyroid, medications, combinations, ask them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer, and some of these questions I'll turn into future videos because they deserve a full answer, not just a reply in a thread. Take care of yourself. You've got more good years ahead of you than you think. Good night, guys.